Hey everyone. It's been a while since my last book review, but today I'm going to be reviewing Carnosaur, which was released in 1984 by Star Books. That's the publisher, just clarification, and it was written by Harry Adam Knight, although that's a pen name for the author John Brosnan. I believe that's how you say his name. Okay, this review I'm going to like structure kind of somewhat similar to my Schoolhouse review, where I guess I'll talk a bit about I guess backstory about the book and maybe the author, and then I'll get into I guess the basic plot, and then I'll say what I like about the book, what I thought about it, and then I'll get into like the more spoiler territory because I guess I'll say this about this when I get to the spoiler stuff. This book has a lot of comparisons to Jurassic Park, which you can maybe kind of figure what this book's about because of the title and the cover. But yeah, I know about this book for quite some time because I've actually watched the movies that with the same name of this book because there's actually I believe there's like 5 Carnosaur movies technically speaking because there's like Carnosaur 1, 2, 3. Then there's another one called Raptor which uses like footage from the previous Carnosaur movies, and they also have a movie called The Eden Formula which uses stock footage from all those other movies like Raptor, Carnosaur 1, 2, and 3. And has a bunch of other things. Those movies are not very good, but they're kind of fun to watch just because at least the first 3 they're kind of fun to watch because in their own like sense. But Raptor and Eden Formula are pretty terrible in my opinion. Anyways, but yeah, also because people have compared this book to Jurassic Park because as I said, it came out in 1984, so that means it came out 6 years before Jurassic Park, and people point out there's like similarities. So I'll get into that like in the last part, I guess the last near the end of the video, like the comparisons, because it's gonna be a little hard to talk about the similarities without spoiling stuff about this book. Anyways, with that being said, I guess I'll get right into the video. Okay. Yeah. Oh, what was it? John Brosnan. He was an author from the UK, but I believe he spent most of his life in Australia. He mainly wrote sci-fi novels, but when he did write, horror novels, he used the name Harry Adam Knight, like he did here, or he used the name Simon Ian Childs. And I'm mumbling out a bit just because this is the 3rd book from Harry Adam Knight I've read. The other 2 being The Fungus, which was released in 1985, and then you have Slimer, which was released in 1983. These are like reprint editions from 2018. Most of his books that went by the name Harry Adam Knight or Simon Ian Childs, they're out of print. I think these are the only 2 under Harry Adam Knight that are still in print. They were released by Valancourt Books, which they do a lot of like reprints of older horror novels. And I bring that up because actually on Twitter post, when they said like, oh, we re-released Slimer and the Fungus, someone on the Twitter post was like asking like, oh, are you gonna try re-release Carnosaur because it's really hard to get that book, and they stated this. I have the quote written down here. Sadly, Carnosaur's rights are more complicated. We're trying to sort it out. And that was on August 17th, 2018, and there's still been no update about that, so I don't know. I'm not gonna hold my breath for Carnosaur ever getting re-released. But hey, maybe one day. Also, I bring that up because actually one thing. So yeah, obviously before I said, because this book's been out of print for so long, that it's pretty hard to get. I got pretty lucky finding this on eBay for a fair price, and it also is in really good condition. It's like you don't see much damage, no damage to the spine. The pages are like still feel fairly new. And so I guess the cheapest way to read this book is to go to Scribd, which if you know what Scribd is, and I'm just gonna say how it's spelled, it's SCRIBD. It's basically like Netflix for books, and someone actually put Carnosaur there because they have a bunch of like officially licensed books, like ones that like publishers put on there. But some people, you can actually put like documents there, like just documents of whatever. I've seen people apparently they put like newspaper articles there, and some people even put just like their own like short stories there. Someone actually took like screenshots of each page of this book and just put it on there. So I guess that's one way to read this book if you really want to, without like hoping to get lucky to find a copy of this book. Anyways, that's probably enough about the backstory. Now I'm gonna get to the actual plot of the book. Uh, like so from the moment you open this book, you can get a feel how this is. Uh, it opens with a husband and wife. They run a poultry farm, and the wife hears like a bunch of noise going on in the chicken shed because they keep the chickens in there, and the chickens are in cages, that sort of thing. She hears a bunch of noise going on there. She wakes up her husband, tell him that the chicken's going crazy. She wants him to investigate, and so he goes to investigate. He grabs a shotgun. He goes out there, and when he gets there, he sees that the chickens have been massacred, like just torn to pieces, and looks like they were eaten or something. And even the metal cages they were in were like looks like they was like ripped open. That's what then. And he's like thinking like, oh, because he was going there, he thought like, oh, it's maybe a dog or a fox got in the cage and trying to attack the chickens. But then he's like thinking that well, no dog or fox can like rip open metal cages. And at this point, he's already in the shed, like inside of it. And when he starts to hear something behind him, and he even smells like a terrible odor. And when he turns around, he sees what appears to be a large dinosaur blocking his exit. Like his escape. And he just sits there like in shock, thinking like, what the hell, like because it's like a dinosaur, like. And the book actually does a really good job because it describes like it's because it's the middle of the night. It's like hidden in the darkness. He sees like it's silhouette sort of thing, and he describes like how its tail is swaying left to right as it's staring at him. Looks like as if it's studying him. And then it just lunges at him. And they say like how he tries to fire a shot but misses, and he screams. His wife hears the gunshot and the scream, so she goes out to investigate, and then she too falls victim to the dinosaur. It's described that the dinosaur is basically, it looks like a very large raptor. I believe around like 7 feet tall, or something like that. So yeah, it's basically, that was the opening kill. But then once you turn the page, like after those people get killed, you turn the page, it gets to 2 more kills. Like immediately, there's a guy and girl that are having sex in a car in the middle of nowhere, and then they too fall victim to a dinosaur. That sort of thing. So yeah, as I said, once you're reading this, you get like a feel for how this is. This is basically like a creature slasher flick that with in a book, I guess, with dinosaurs. Let's see. I guess we'll say this too. Yeah, at least while reading those, it sort of immediately reminded me of a James Herbert or Richard Lehman novel. I guess the thing that reminded me the most was like when I read James Herbert's The Rats trilogy, because a lot of those had like really like had opening kills, and also the kills in this kind of like a James Herbert or Richard Lehman novel. They're quite graphic, and there's also like those 2 authors. This book has quite a bit of sex in it, that sort of thing. But anyway, just want to point that out there. But now I guess I'll get into more of the plot. There's a character, he's a journalist. His name is Pascal. He's investigating some of these strange murder cases, and he kind of notices that there's something very unusual about these murder cases, because he's like saying like he looks at it looks like an animal killed these people, because it looks like they're ripped to pieces, eaten, and stuff like that. But he noticed in the crime scenes there's a lack of blood. Like there should be way more blood. And there's also like no animal prints leading away from the crime scenes, which he thought was unusual because animals don't clean up crime scenes before they leave. And I guess to say the biggest person of interest is a character named Penwood. They describe he's like a rich, eccentric person he's part of an influential, powerful family, and apparently have been in the UK for centuries. So much so that he actually lives in his family's estate, that his family's been living there for like centuries, because it's like how it used to be a castle there, but then it got burnt to the ground in the 1400s, and then they built a huge house there, and then that too burnt to the ground around the 1700s. Then they rebuilt it, and that's where Penwood currently lives. But yeah, Penwood, they said that he has a private zoo, and it's kind of like after these murder cases, he says that like, oh, one of my tigers escaped, but we took care of it. Like we caught it and we killed it. Problem solved. They just tell people like, don't worry about it, it's all taken care of, and then you show like a dead tiger to as proof. But Pascal doesn't really believe it was a tiger, so he decides to investigate further. And one of the ways he decides to investigate further is that he tries to get he starts having a relationship with Penward's wife, who is well, basically just flat saying in the book, she's a nymphomaniac. So he starts having like a sexual relationship with her to get closer, so he can try to figure out more about her husband and something. And as you quite guess, considering the fact that I compare this to James Herbert's like work and Richard Lehman, it seems the wife is a nymphomaniac. There can be quite a bit of sex, in this book. So yeah, that's the basic plot. Plot. Now I just get into a bit more about the book. Like what I liked about it and a few more details. It's 214 pages, so it's pretty short. And also, like those two authors I keep comparing this book to, it's a pretty quick read. Like it's a pretty easy one. It's a novel that doesn't have a lot of filler or downtime. It's just a novel that just goes and goes. Like it just there's nothing like really stale that happens. It just goes. So you can easily read this in a day. And I guess now I'll say what I liked. Okay, basically, it was a fun read. It had some really graphic kills. Like I guess because I'm gonna compare this to Jurassic Park a bit. I know like Jurassic Park the book has some kills that are fairly graphic, but this one gets into more like bloody stuff. And unlike Jurassic Park, again, this one has some detailed sex scenes, that sort of thing. So yeah, I guess this is like basically Jurassic Park except way less sciencey and more about just the bloody carnage. That's then. So yeah, I guess it's like if you like those kind of things, you like this, and I would say that I really enjoyed it. I read this like it took me like what 2 days because I read like 100 pages one day, then I read the 100 pages the next day, and I had a lot of fun. It was just again it was never not a masterpiece, but it was just really fun. Like if you just want to be like a slasher creature flick. Because again, it's which it kind of reminded me of, I guess, obviously this author's other works, like The Fungus and Slimer. Those two had a lot of things, like really graphic kills, detailed sex stuff, and, it was just like the novels that just go. There's no, like, filler, Now, I guess I'm going to get into more spoiler territory, so if, I guess you want to get this book spoiled, you can shut off the video now. But as I said, so I would say if this sounds like your cup of tea, definitely highly recommend it if you can get somewhere like on eBay, or if you, like I said, want get a Scribd subscription, you can just read the PDF that some guy uploaded there. Anyway, so yeah, now I'm getting this a little more spoilers territory of the plot, so I can, I guess, kind of talk about the comparisons between Jurassic Park, because a lot of people like to do that, So if you want it spoiled, then, shut off the video now. Okay, 3, 2, 1. All right, now I'm gonna get the spoilers. Okay, so as you can probably guess, Penward, it wasn't a tiger that killed those people. I guess obviously because I talked about it, it's a dinosaur. Pascal figures that out because one time, he has an encounter with Penward's wife, whose name is Lady Jane. Actually, if I should have mentioned that before. One time she invites him over to the estate so they can sleep together, and she's like, oh, you can just sneak in and just make sure my husband doesn't see you, that sort of thing. So they do their thing, and then he starts to investigate, and then he finds out that Penward's freaking breeding dinosaurs in the estate, like in the we'll describe like it seems the place used to be a castle. They just said like, oh, the dungeon, like the underground dungeon of the castle still remains, and then using it to like breed dinosaurs, which is pretty cheesy, but I think that was kind of cool. Like really like you have like an evil dungeon. But yeah, so yeah, Penn was just breeding dinosaurs, and they describe like he's like he's like an older guy, and he's just he's kind of he thinks very highly of himself, and he thinks like he's how you say. Basically he's pretty arrogant, so it kind of reminded me of Hammond, I believe that was his name, the guy who created Jurassic Park in the book, because he too was like an older guy who think very highly of himself, and he's gonna be like, oh, I'm the first man to do this, and he's trying to bring dinosaurs back, and he's like think of himself as a god or something. And then similarities, because then Penward starts to describe like how they bring the dinosaurs back to life, and it's similar to how Jurassic Park does it. So again, I can see why some people compare the two. Because basically he says that how they're taking fossils and like mummified bodies of dinosaurs from across the world, and they're taking the DNA from them, and they're just like putting them in incubators and making new eggs, like so they can just patch and come back. And they said they're using chicken DNA to fill in the gaps. So again, pretty similar to Jurassic Park, but in Jurassic Park they said they're using lizard, frog, and bird DNA to fill in the gaps. So it's a little different. So again, like those comparisons, and I guess let me see, what's another comparison? Let me write down my notes here. Can we get to write it down? These are the time before recording this video. It's been like well, basically a day and a half since I read this, because I just never got around to filming this. But I guess there's one more similarity. I just remembered actually. This is a similarity between this book, the book Carnosaur, and the movie Jurassic Park. Penwood has a bunch of like dinosaur fossils on display, across this like a certain part of his estate. At one point, the dinosaurs just go on a rampage there, so it's kind of reminded me of that one scene in Jurassic Park, like where you see there's like there's like dinosaurs running around, you see fossils of them, So yeah, I guess that's the comparisons, because some people just said like, oh, it's very similar to how the dinosaurs come back in Jurassic Park. The whole like they're finding fossils of them, and they're using like certain DNA to fill in the gaps. But I don't think like Michael Crichton, I don't think he like plagiarized anything. Well, I guess he plagiarized. That's the strong word. I don't think he like copied anything, because honestly speaking, these books aren't too similar, because like how because Jurassic Park goes into like how man can't control nature, and it's not right for man to play God, that sort of thing. Well, this one's just more of a crazy dude bringing back dinosaurs, and then they go on a rampage and killing people left and right, and there's only so many ways you can like bring dinosaurs back to life. So I don't think it's like Michael Crichton was like, oh, he read this book, he's like, I'm gonna rip it off, so just want to point that out. But anyways, I just wanted to like say those things, because again, I keep saying people compare the two. So now I guess I'll just end the video soon before I do. But like I said, yeah, highly recommend novel, a lot of fun. If you're into like I guess like B movies or James Herbert or Richard Lehman, you'll probably get a lot of enjoyment out of this. So with that being said, I guess I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye and take care.